Hello there and welcome to part 2 of my guide on how to paint the Warhammer The Old World Bretonnian Pegasus. This video is going to focus purely on the knights. As you can see, they're all sprayed black. I used matte black spray from Colourforge. You'll also note that the shields are also separated as well to make it a lot easier. To kick things off, I'm going to use some Iron Hand steel to paint all the armour on the knights. And I'll be doing the same with their shields. Then everything we've just painted is going to get a wash with some Nuln Oil. Once that wash is dry, we're going to use Stormhost Silver to edge highlight all the metal. Then we'll start painting the red with some Mephiston Red. This is mostly going to be all the cloth areas, and I'm also going to use it on the shield as well, but we'll do that in a minute because I'm going to do a wash in between. And that wash will be with some Carroburg Crimson. So now I'm going to go back to the Mephiston Red and I'm going to start painting the shield and any other livery on the stuff. The reason why I'm doing it now is because this stuff isn't going to use a wash, and it'll give plenty of time for the wash on the rest of the red to dry. Take your time with this, try and get your lines as straight as possible, but don't worry if you mess up because you can always clean up when we do the black. Then we're going to use a 50-50 mix of Mephiston Red and Evil Sunz Scarlet for the first layer. Remember, you're painting all of the red at this point as well, and the next layer is Evil Sunz Scarlet. This will be followed up by a mix of Evil Sunz Scarlet and some Wild Rider Red. And then a final edge highlight of Wild Rider Red. With red now out of the way, we'll continue work on all of the gubbins that are surrounding them. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint these scabbards with some Gal Vorbak Red. The straps and things will be painted with some Dryad Bark. And the hilts of the swords will be painted with some Screamer Pink. All of this will then get a wash with some Nuln Oil. While that dries, we'll start working on the black, so we're going to relayer everything that we're going to paint black with some Abaddon Black. It's up to you where you want the areas of cloth to be black, but it's also going to be part of the livery as well. After that, we'll use some Corvus Black to start the initial highlight. That's followed by a 50-50 mix of Corvus Black and Eshin Grey. And then finally, Eshin Grey just by itself for the final edge highlight. This will have given the earlier wash plenty of time to dry, so next up we're going to use Word Bearer's Red on the scabbards and things like that for the swords. Followed by Doombull Brown with an edge highlight. We'll then use Catachan Flesh to highlight the brown leather. And then we can move on to the gold, which we'll use some Retributor armor for that. These areas include handles, hilts, and the top of the helmet. All of this will then be washed with some Reikland Flesh Shade. I'm then going to use some Screaming Bell to paint the rear of the lance, which will then be washed with some Agrax Earthshade. Once the gold is dry, we're going to highlight it with some Uric Armor Gold. Finally, we'll use some Iron Hand steel just to do any final highlights like buckles or things like that on the belts. Finally, I'll use some Screaming Bell to relayer the rear of the lance, making sure I avoid the very tip so there's a little bit of shading going on. The painting's now all out of the way, so all you need to do is add the charts first. There is a video on my channel if you want to know how I do that. Then, using some super glue, we'll glue the rider to the base and the shield to the rider. There we are. All you need to do now is base them to go with the rest of your army. I'll leave that entirely up to you, and they are finished. A great blast from the past from Games Workshop with the Old World, and they are quite a lot of fun miniatures to paint. They didn't take too long to paint at all. In fact, they only took around about 3 hours for the knights and about 4 hours for the horses. If you followed this guide, I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you enjoy your newly painted models. Goodbye for now.